Why, hello there. It is Tuesday, January the 26th. How are we doing today? Go ahead and let me know where you are, located that is. And just let me know you're listening. And if you're ready to learn, if you're ready to transform, get a little upgrade in your mind and your neurology to experience more success. Because today, I want to talk to you about something. And just so you know, if we use this as a podcast, this is episode 504. Oh, I actually just seen these comments coming right now. I didn't even see those. So great to have you here. Thank you ever so much. In California, myself as well. I'm in California. So great to have you from California. I'm in San Diego. We got Delaware, USA. We got Idaho. I have been to Idaho many a times, Boise specifically. I've got some good friends up there. And also we got Mississippi, easy for me to say, which I've never been to. Oh, thank you. Congratulations to episode 504. That's crazy, isn't it? I was just looking at my stats today, and we are, for this month, we are at 95,000 downloads on the podcast, just for this month alone. So we're going to break easily 100,000 this month, which is really, really cool. Oh, so you are in Meridian. I've stayed in Meridian in a hotel. And I've gone to events and masterminds and things like that with a good friend, or good friends, I should say. It's great to have you here on this live video. So I'm going to just repeat it for the podcast. This is episode 504, and this is being streamed on YouTube and Facebook. And if you're ready to make a change, go ahead to YouTube, which is youtube.com/Joseph Clough, or on the Facebook page. If I keep on posting on there, we don't know yet. We don't know if these episodes going live on Facebook are going to save the Joseph Clough Facebook page. We might be stopping it fully, completely, having it still live there, but not posting on there ever again. And now, this will be an inside kind of joke, which you won't be able to get if you're listening to the podcast. But yes, that is Sir Bunny right there. But it's been a big meme, right? So I thought I'd just play around with it. So if you are listening to this on the podcast, it's always good to catch the video version of this, because you might be able to get some things extra. And also, if you have any questions along the way, I'm more than happy to help you. But if you're here live, you might as well ask me a question as we go through this. Now, today I'd like to talk to you about self-belief bias. What does that really mean? It means that our beliefs will dictate how we see our reality, or how we show up, how we respond, how we act and react to our circumstance. And I've said this recently, and I've said this for many, many years. Obviously, our perception is our projection. Whatever we perceive to be true is true for ourselves. It's our reality, ultimately. If we don't believe we're worthy, deserving, or good enough, of course, that's going to have an effect on your outlook. In NLP, and I'm a trainer of NLP, or a master trainer of NLP, there's what they call the presuppositions, and they're really just convenient presuppositions for living. And one of the presuppositions is the map is not the territory. Now, what does that mean? The map is not the territory. Well, you have your own map of the world of what you think is your map. You think that is the world that you see, the map of how you see it. But that's not the whole truth. There's far more to explore beyond that. But your beliefs are something which will dictate how you see your present situation. So I'm going to answer some of these questions very soon, so don't worry, I will get back to it. I'm just going to talk about the subject for today and then get to it. But yeah, our belief systems will create a certain bias, a belief bias. So let's just say you're going for an interview, and that interview goes horribly, horribly wrong. Trust me, I've been there. And obviously it creates a little bit of worry, a little bit of anxiety, and a bit of shame or negativity or self-doubt. And then you go to another interview, and sadly the same experience happens again. What's it going to do? Well, it's going to reaffirm that experience. So maybe go to another one and then another one. And before you know it, after a while, you're going to have a belief system that you are bad at interviews, or you're just has an effect on other areas of your life, your own self-esteem of how you experience. So after a while, that will be a confirmation. Is it true? Is it not true? Well, it's true for you in that moment, but you believe in it. You create a belief which models the shape of your world. So after a while, you'll start to project that belief. You'll start to think it's true in that area or other areas. And that belief system will obviously have an effect on how you act and react. And that can create some kind of big problems in our life. It can almost create this imposter syndrome. Like, oh my goodness, am I going to get found out? What if people think X, Y, Z of me? What if I look silly? What if I look stupid? Even though, and here's the real interesting thing, and this is what creates the big conflict. On the one hand, you may know consciously, logically, that you have all the insight, the wisdom, the ability. On paper, you might go, I should be able to do these things. And even other people might say, look, you're an amazing person. You should be getting more than this. You should be getting even bigger promotions, earning more money. But on the other hand, within you, there's going to be that part of you which is going to have that belief bias and delete all those good things, all the logic. And therefore, it creates the conflict. Because you're conflicted, because part of you thinks, look, I should be able to do this. I should be able to get that job or that relationship or fill in the blank. But then there's that part of you, which I would say your unconscious mind, that says, no, who are you to get that goal? Who are you to do that? Because, do you remember that last interview? Or the interview before that? Or if we change your frame of reference, remember that bad relationship? Do you remember when you were at school and that teacher made you to stand up and you just froze and panicked? My own personal story in that one. Our belief will be formulated by that past experience. I call those significant emotional events. And those significant emotional events will mold how you perceive the world. So if you've gone through some form of trauma, no matter how big or small, most people I speak to usually go, look, Joseph, I know my issue is not that big compared to other people in the world. And in that moment, I'm like, yeah, that's true. However, it's important to you. And if it's important to you, it means something. So the issue of self-sabotage, the imposter syndrome, the inner critic, all those things is so important to you, and that's okay. And that comes from that past experience, which generates that self-belief bias. Everyone could be saying how great you are. Logically, you might know you are able and capable. But there's that part of you which says, no, I'm not capable. I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not deserving. I'm not enough. Whether it came from our parents, whether it came from our teachers, whether it came from our relationships, whether it came from the economy, where it came from a business situation, or just a one-time event or multiple events, those events will formulate how you perceive the world around you. So you'll be deleting the opportunity. You'll be distorting that opportunity. You'll be generalizing that opportunity. And by generalizing, I mean when you say those sentences like it's always going to happen. It happens every time. You take one or more events and then generalize it to your whole life. Like if it's going to happen, it's going to happen to me. I'm always poor. Those generalizations. And that creates the belief system. And it's something that I heard, and I actually did a podcast on this, and I don't quite remember what episode it was. But it was something like, because I was just reflecting this evening. And it was saying like the invisible self-built prison. The invisible self-built prison. You see, sometimes we can feel like we're living in a prison. We feel stuck, we feel alone, we feel we're incapable. And it's not always just the external situation, but it's the prison within our mind. Those past events have been built up to make you feel like you're frozen and stuck in that situation. And for some people it might be, well, I'm stuck within my mind of not feeling good enough, worthy, or capable. But it could be like, I'm stuck because I can't take my business from 5,000 to 10,000 or for 50,000 per month, whatever it is, right? Like we can generalize, you can add and fill in the spaces of what it is for you. But it's self-imposed invisible barriers, these prisons that we are built in our mind, which are generated and created via our past experience. And that creates the limiting self-belief bias, where we could be given all the examples of why we should be like how we want to, but unconsciously we say no. So reflect upon that. Think about it. What are your or the invisible self-built prisons that you hold to your dreams, to your goals, to your outcomes, in health, relationships, career, finances? What beliefs are you holding? And we can spiral that out as well, because sometimes it becomes a story of our life, which is really, really not a good thing. Once again, I've been there. And you'll know it's true if it keeps repeating. Like the story of my life over and over again, and all these different scenarios or parts of my life are, I can't make money, or I'm bad at relationships, or life never goes my way. You see, that prison that we build within ourselves becomes a story that I'm going to say this, right? And it might push some buttons, and do you know what? I don't mind. It's okay. Sometimes we've got to wake up to the fact of what's happening unconsciously. I'm not blaming you consciously, but unconsciously there's a part of you which may buy into this. We buy into that story as a truth. And that story becomes our reality. It becomes the constant example, the reaffirming inner self-talk, the inner critic, the inner imposter syndrome, the self-sabotage. Yes, the not worthy, the not good enough is one of the biggest things that people experience in the world. And maybe it was formulated when we were very, very young. In sociology, they say within the first 7 years is the imprint age. So in other words, we come into this world, we're blank, we're like a blank slate, and we just then get imprinted based on our experience around other people, usually our peers, our parents, or just significant emotional events. And just so you know, the other 7 years are ultimately is when we're modeling other people. And then the next 7 years, just so you know, is a socialization. And just so you know, the next 7 years is when we're starting, supposedly, becoming an adult. So in this 7-year cycle, and then very much in the beginning, it gets imprinted upon us. And way back then, of course, you did not have the knowledge and wisdom that you may have now as an adult. But back then, you were fresh to the world. And of course, if it did happen in your later area of your life, so it could be 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and plus, when we have a significant emotional event, of course, we weren't in the right mind to choose anything different because we were under stress, and under stress, more often than not, we do not make good decisions. But it formulates this one decision, which then gets repeated in different events and even spirals out to different areas of your life, will eventually become a story that you buy into. That self-belief, and in this case, a limiting self-belief bias, which shuts out opportunities all around you. It's almost like you're deleting them within yourself. You're just unconsciously ignoring or filtering them out so they don't show up in your life. And we can even say this about society. Now, what I'm about to say is not very nice at all. There was meant to be an experiment. Like I said, a horrible experiment, not nice at all. Where this experiment was when, and it might not even be true. Let's just pretend it's not true just because it's not very nice. There's an experiment which is totally not true. 100% not true. But it's a metaphor for life. Let's say that it's a metaphor, it's an analogy. Where there were these monkeys in this cage, big kind of thing. And there was a hanging banana, or some form of food anyway. But every time that monkey, among all the others, went to reach for that banana or food, all the other ones would get on the floor electrocuted. So of course, after a while, all the other monkeys, every time one of the monkeys would try to jump up and catch some of that food, the other monkeys would just start like attacking that one because obviously they don't want to get electrocuted. Now, over time, in this totally made up metaphorical experiment, they took out 1, 2, 3, 4 of the monkeys. But after a while, a new one would go in where they'd automatically be programmed based on past experience to attack any monkey, even if they took away the electrocution aspect to it, because they were conditioned that passed down in the generations of that totally made up metaphor experiment, that they would automatically attack. And if you think about it, that's really, really interesting, because it means we may be running belief systems which aren't even ours, generations passed down to us, which are outgrown and totally unrelated as to where we are right now in our life. And we can branch that out to society, we can do that to community, we can do that to politics, we can do it to government, we can do it to business, we can do it to relationships. We may be running unconsciously these belief systems which have been passed down to us, but untested upon ourselves, like totally unrelated to where we are. But we're just keeping on running the exact same story based on what we've been told. So ask yourself, what stories have you been told which you've bought into, despite not really going into all the alternatives or the opposites which contradict that limiting belief? Because we may be running these stories, these self-imposed, unconsciously imposed biases of what is possible based on, yes, the events in our life, but also based on other people's situations that we've either observed in life or that we've been told, that we've been taught. And that creates the imposter syndrome, the limiting beliefs, and the not enough, I'm not capable, I'm not deserving, I'm not worthy, all of those things. Now, the key to success, yes, it's always good to have support and help. Like, fundamentally, I really believe in investing yourself. And I say it because I do that all the time. I'm more than happy to give up something to be able to invest in myself, to me be more happy, more whole, more content, to be the authentic me. I'm always investing with myself. So yeah, number one, I always say that. To get help, in other words, get assistance, because it's easier that way. It's a shortcut to life. You may as well work with someone who knows what they're on about, or you believe that they can get you to where you want to be. But let's just say you cannot do that. You have to be conscious at the very least. You have to be conscious of these programs that are running beneath the surface. So when they arise, you have an opportunity to stop them. And it might be hard. Going on the previous live stream episode I did, which I think is like 502, episode 502, you have to be conscious of as and when they come into your mind and try your best to change the pattern. Where it be, although I don't quite believe in affirmations, they're good, but they're not going to solve the issue all the time. But it's definitely going to make a dent. I've done another episode about why affirmations aren't always that good. As a quick another analogy is sometimes an affirmation is like having mold in your room and just painting over it. Just painting over the mold, hopefully it gets better, it looks nicer, but well, of course we know beneath the surface the mold's still there, but we keep on painting over it. So that's why affirmations don't work all the time until you solve that mold, and then you can paint over any beautiful color. In other words, once you solve the issue, then you can affirm any positive affirmation. But the key is to be conscious, to catch it when it happens, to consider alternative narratives. If I have a limiting belief, let's say I totally believe in that limiting belief, like it's like that I know the sun's going to come up tomorrow. That's how strong it is. Well, I'm going to look for alternative beliefs which will contradict that belief I have. If I can't, let's say for example, I don't believe I can set up my own business and earn $10,000 per month from that business. That's going to limit me. One of the quickest and easy ways to consider is to go, well, are there any other people out there who have managed to be able to get $10,000 per month in the amount of time that I want? If I research that, if that is possible, then that belief that I have can no longer hold as much water. It might be still there because it's self-imposed, but there's going to be a counter argument. And therefore that self-belief bias, although true for you, will hold less water. It'll be not as strong. So look for the alternatives. Look for the different examples of when it's happened, how it happens. Model that person, work with that person, or at least research that person. Ask questions. Keep on looking for those answers, because when you do that, you start to build the traction, and therefore that belief gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it can't hold any water. And that's where change happens. That's when the tide begins to move. because you're making good and great decisions. You see, when we get people into my program, it's very highly customized, and we only really accept those who we know we can solve the issue. But the one question that we get people to ask is, are you able to commit to these three things? The first thing is, are you resourceful? Do you have the ability to ask questions, to reach out for help? Because you might not know all the answers, but you're still willing to ask and willing to open the ears to be able to consider something else, to take on new advice. The second thing is being dedicated. If you're not dedicated, you're not going to make it happen. No one can make you do anything. You've got to be coming from that burning desire that I'm going to relive the rest of my life in total happiness, in total freedom and abundance and health, relationships, career, business, all those things. I'm so dedicated, a burning desire. You might not know how, but you still have that dedication. And the last aspect of it is taking action. You see, most people decide on fear. They decide on that self-bias, that belief bias that we have. But in times of change, that even if everyone is saying no, you've got to decide to go, even though this is my circumstance, even though my belief bias is I'm not enough, or I'm not able or capable to achieve that financial abundance or get that promotion or fill in the blank, even though that is what's being seen around me, I'm going to decide and choose on what is right. Because when you do that, you make that decision and declaration and that commitment to something more. And with that, I think that's all I've got to say on the matter. But I hope you enjoy this. Let's just see if I had a few questions. So one of the questions we had, how often do I do live appearances in the US? Now, one, I am actually living in the US, in San Diego, California. Obviously, in the nature of the economy in the world, doing things live is not something that is totally possible, depending on what state you live in. Not so much in California, I can tell you that. But I don't do many live appearances. I've done appearances at Hay House occasionally. We do certified NLP and hypnosis and coaching practitioners where I certify you to do what I do. So you literally can start working with people. So I do that. And also I'm hired by other companies to speak on stage. And that's like for 60 minutes or so. And that happens occasionally as well. But it takes a lot for me to really go really public. I'm a kind of quiet guy, really. I like to just be where I am right now. There's beautiful. If you saw my situation where I am, I got my self-built sound panels. I got this cool LED lighting. I got all my mic and my systems. There's like my happy space, being here, speaking like this. I do actually show up live online to my program, of course. We do that very frequently. And we've done retreats and things like that as well, but not at present as much. So I'm going to give it a couple of more seconds. If you do have a question, go ahead and let me know. But remember, you have to recognize that self-belief bias. You got to recognize that maybe it was imprinted upon you, whether it be through events or even other people. And you got to think that those beliefs may have been passed down from someone else generations back, and we're still buying into them. It could be society, but you have to recognize them to change them. You got to be resourceful enough to ask questions and look for answers. You've got to be dedicated and take action, not on fear, but on what is right. So one of the questions we have right now is how do you move past the bias that is deeply ingrained from the childhood? So there's lots of different ways you can do this. Like if I were to say like 100%, depending on what the issue is, but I'm like, obviously my system solution works. I mean, I just know it works. But the key here is to realize that the age, let's say it's childhood, let's say between 0 and 7 or a little bit later, the decision that was made then, you did not have the knowledge to be able to choose anything different. Number one, you didn't have the knowledge because you were young compared to how you were adult, and also you were under maybe a significant emotional, a significant emotion. So in that moment, we make a decision. That decision formulates a belief. That belief will then be your perception. And then that perception for experience becomes your self-imposed reality. But if we think of the time of that decision was made for the best of intentions. It might have spiraled out of control. The reactions, your experience, the symptoms that you feel right now may be horrible, but the intention behind why your unconscious mind did it was for the best intentions. Usually safety, usually protection. So your unconscious mind is there to protect you. It tries to protect you. It doesn't always do a great job. If you think of a fearophobia, the terminology, I believe, is an irrational response. But the irrational response is intended with safety. So it's irrational, but it's trying to protect us. Now, to me, the way that I work is based on learnings. If I can upgrade your unconscious mind to learn what has been needed to learn, that once learned will allow you to be safer, then I believe your unconscious mind will have to upgrade itself because it's here to protect you. It's the driving force of your protection. So by doing that, by getting the unconscious learnings, you upgrade the system to be safer, and therefore you're upgrading the system so it can no longer run by the old system. So to me, the truth of freedom is teaching your unconscious mind to be safer than ever before via learnings, to learn what is needed to be learned that once learned will allow you to be safer. Really, really good question. Learnings are the key. So another question we have right here is, how can you teach yourself to recognize when you're going back into the pattern? Are there tricks to it? Usually you don't realize it until it's already passed. That's a really good question as well. So yeah, usually it happens, and before we know it, it's happened. Sometimes it just takes time. The more you recognize, the quicker you'll recognize. Your reaction will be there. Now, as a process or a technique that I mean, there's lots of different processes you could work with this. You can pre-teach your unconscious mind. So although you're not there in the moment because it's past, let's just say you're out of the moment, you then begin to, and there's lots of ways to do this through the different modalities of the visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic, and olfactory, gustatory, but they're not as important compared to the physical or the visual or the sound. But you can actually pre-teach your unconscious mind. A simple way, although you might need help with it, but something that you could do yourself is imagining yourself going through a situation. And when you imagine this self, you're not in the event, but you're observing you in the event, and you're pre-teaching yourself. So when this happens, let's just say you have that usual situation where it happens, like a trigger. When I see my boss, I feel bad or feel nervous. When I'm in an interview, I get worried. Or when I think about going for that promotion, fill in the blank. Once you recognize the triggers, begin to imagine seeing yourself responding in the way that is most pleasing to you. Now, the more you visualize it by seeing yourself in the event, as if you're watching yourself in a movie and you're not looking through your own eyes, you are dissociating from it. So, well, number one, if you're seeing yourself over there reacting differently, the feelings of the old pattern won't be there because you're not in the event. And number two, you're guiding your unconscious mind of how you'd like to act. This is the new strategy. So it's almost like, yes, you do it after the event, but the fact that you're visualizing it after the event, it means it's before the very next event. So the more you begin to create that, your unconscious mind finds it very, very hard to imagine what is true compared to what is visualized. There's lots of studies upon that. It's almost like our mind is holographic in that once you start to impose the new strategy, it will start to believe in its truth. And if you do that a number of times, it'll start to take place. So it's not about always, I mean, if you can catch it in the moment, fantastic. But if you cannot, past the moment is always going to be before the next moment, the future moment, in other words. So once you start to project and create the new strategy, you're going to be teaching your unconscious mind the new system. Really, really good question. I really love that one. Another question we have right now is, my question is, how long does it take for you to recognize that you made it into a habit state? That's a really hard question because everyone's unique and it's depending on the significance of the issue or the deeper part of the issue. They usually say around 30 days, like when I do my hypnosis, when you say if you go to the Joseph Clough hypnosis app, all the hypnosis tracks on there, I always say, look, do it for 30 days because 30 days is a long enough time to hopefully get into your system at an unconscious level. But by saying roughly 30 days, that roughly 30 days is a limitation. It's actually a self-inbuilt bias because maybe once you have that epiphany, once you get the unconscious learning, maybe it takes a day. Why limit ourselves? Why can't we do it in this moment? Sometimes there's preparation, but why can't we do it in 1 second? And I'll tell you why that's true. If you think about the creation of an issue, in some cases it can happen over time, but in more often than not cases, it happens in a moment, a second. That significant emotional event which will change and create that limiting issue. So if it happens in a second, the creation, why can it not happen in a second to transform your life? Because the epiphany, the learning, actually causes you to be safer. So that's where it gets interesting. Yes, to create a habit, it might take 30 days, but to create the change, maybe it takes a moment. The moment it takes to create an issue can be the exact same as the moment of creating freedom. And isn't that great? That we don't have to limit ourselves based on habit, but maybe in the moment. And let me ask you this question. Have you ever had an epiphany before? Like an awakening, a realization, a knowing. I can pretty much guarantee that knowing, that recognizing, that epiphany happened in a moment. You may have got to that place by doing other things, but the creation of change happens in that moment. So maybe it's a convenient presupposition here, but wouldn't it be better to consider that maybe transformation happens in a moment? Yes, you need the right ingredients, maybe support. Let me tell you a story about this. I know we've been going on for a long time now, but is it okay to tell you a story? Go ahead and let me know if it's okay to tell you a personal story. So go ahead and let me know. Otherwise, I won't say the story, and that's cool. So, we've got another question here. How does one best identify the limiting belief? As sometimes beliefs feel so familiar and comfortable, why is it important to identify a limiting belief rather than adopt a new belief? Well, the limiting belief is the creator of your experience. So you can try to generate a new belief, but if you have the limiting unconscious belief, you have a conflict. Like then you go, well, I'm trying to consciously generate a belief that I am enough, but if my unconscious mind says I'm not enough, it creates a deeper divide. So actually trying to do it that way can actually create a bigger issue, as in a bigger separation. So that's really, really important to understand. Now, how do you find that limiting belief? Now, I get this question all the time, and I'm absolutely genuine in this, that it's so hard to tell because everyone's life experience is different. Like, for example, those people who go into my program, I've got this pre-module, which is an hour long, which will find that root cause. It's like 21 questions, but they're profound questions which will get your unconscious mind to know the answer. So everyone's answer, though, is going to be different because the makeup of those answers are going to be different every single time because you have a different makeup, genetic makeup, an experiential makeup, your past, all your beliefs, your decisions, your memories, your associations, your culture, all of those things will be there. So it's very hard for me to just say, oh, this is how you find the limiting belief, because it's very unique to you. So I really recommend, like, honestly, if you want to find the root cause, seek out help, because it's very hard to sometimes do it yourself. And that's not me, like, a plug to my program. I don't mind how you get help. I don't mind if you seek out someone personal, like locally with you. I don't mind if you go in my program if you're a good fit. I don't mind how you do it. But sometimes to find the unconscious root cause, you need to get out your own way and get external help there. And that's just me being genuine, with or without my systems. If you really want to get clarity, it's always a good idea. Are you wondering about the story? Because everyone's saying yes, yes, yes. Before we do the story, just to create a bit of anticipation, what is the limiting belief behind quitting cigarettes? I love them and don't want to quit. That could be the limiting belief. I love them and don't want to quit. So when it comes to smoking cigarettes, you get lots of things from them. People just think it's a habit, but really it's not. You get comfort, you get patience, you get peace, you get a de-stress, you get a breath, you get socialization to it. So one of the things you've got to do is be able to make a decision that even though I love them, I'm ready to quit. And realize that you can get more happiness without them if you choose. One thing what I would do with, like, I don't work with smokers, and that's just a personal preference. I work with people in business and entrepreneurs, people want to level up their career and so on. But when I did work with smokers, I would make this the issue, and you can do this at everything, by the way, so it's not about smoking, but sometimes you got to gain leverage. I used to be kind of horrible to my clients in the nicest possible way. I would guide them through like a bit of the Dickens approach, which is, you know, like the what's the Christmas movie when he goes to the present, future, and past? Kind of like that. Christmas Carol. I'll get before we actually do the hypnotic work and the processes, I'd say, what happened if you carry on smoking for the next 5 years? Tell me about it. What are you going to feel like? What are you going to do? How much money have you spent? How does it impact your family? What's going to happen 10 years later? What about 15 years? What about 20 years if you make it? What's it going to be like on your deathbed? What's it going to, and it's horrible, right? Because it gets them very, very uncomfortable. But that's gaining leverage, is creating a decision like, what path am I going to go down? I'm going to go down that path or the alternative path if I quit today. So sometimes you have to create pain to create change. So I would definitely be doing that. But the other aspect is, as you said, if you enjoy it, there's a positive intention. I get enjoyment out of it. So your unconscious mind is going to carry on the smoking habit, and we can replace it to enjoyment, to socialization, to peace of mind, as in like your own quiet time, going outside. Your unconscious mind is running these for positive intentions. We have to get the unconscious mind to realize that you can get all of those things, the socialization, the peace, and the quiet, all the other things in between, the de-stress, without it. So you have to be able to convince your unconscious mind of a strategy, but you've definitely got to be able to gain that leverage right there. The question was, how do we find the question list, which I think was about finding the root cause? Well, there's just my own private paid system. It's a very significant investment. It comes with a very customized situation, from custom tracks, one-to-ones, group, modules, processes. It's very, very significant in the investment. I'll be honest, because it takes us a lot of time. We don't see many clients. We just want to work with this very customized way. That's the only way with my system. I'm sure there's other people who do things similar locally. If you go to a competent hypnotherapist, hard to find sometimes because they're not always full-time, but finding someone who knows your solution or how you want to be will be able to hopefully figure out that root cause. I always imagine it like, if you go to a doctor, the doctor is going to ask you what are all your symptoms and try and diagnose the root cause. The doctor's not going to go, well, let's treat all the symptoms. Here's a pill for the headache, here's one for the stomach. No, they're going to find out what's creating all those. So seeking out professional help will be able to do that. Like I said, it's within my private program, and that's just what it is. It's because it's guided that way. Yeah, and going back to the Christmas Carol, like Scrooge, right? So you kind of create that pain. Did he go through some epiphanies in that moment? I think so. Okay, we got lots of questions about the story. Here's a story of mine. When I was about 19, no, I was about 20 years old, actually, specifically. I wanted to find a connection. And I don't know if that connection was to something higher or bigger than myself. I don't know if people call it God or the universe. You know, I was just seeking something more. I wanted a connection. And I didn't know how to find that connection. And when that happened, I thought I'd go on a journey. Now, the beginning of my journey was to be able to seek out every single book I could find. Every single radio cassette I could find. Every CD I could find. And I invested quite a lot of money on self-development books, spiritual books, even the metaphysics books, the science books. I was trying to figure it out. I was trying to absorb all this information. And I have to promise you that all that information was good, great, and wonderful. Like, I loved it. I was like, oh, that's an amazing example. That's a great process. That's absolutely perfect. But no matter what I read or listened to, it didn't resonate with me. Like, it didn't get me that connection. So my next step was to be able to seek out other people who had what I want. Like I said, if I know someone, let's just say I'm not feeling good enough, if I know someone who overcame that and now teaches how they do that, of course I'm going to go to them. I'm not going to go to someone who doesn't have that. So I went on a journey to be able to seek out people who had that experience. Now, unfortunately for me, I met lots of good and great people, but no matter what they said, no matter what they did, it didn't resonate. Like, it was perfect for them. It was great, but for whatever reason, it just didn't get it for me. So then in that time, I was like, well, look, I've done the books, I've done the looking for other people, so I'm going to go on the internet. And of course, back then, because we're talking, I don't know, at least like 15 plus years ago, far less populated it is now on the internet. But I went on there, I was seeking, I saw all these good videos or like downloads and brought more programs, bigger programs, invested a ton of money, hundreds and even thousands of trying to be able to find that connection. And those products and programs and those blog articles and all those things were good and great and amazing. They were beautiful, they were wonderful, but no matter how much great they were, it didn't get it for me. And then, around a year later, it was my 21st birthday. I've been out with my friends. My birthday's in May. May the 24th, for any presents you want to send my way in the future, okay? But no, May. And it was this beautiful, warm evening in Cambridge, England. I can see it clearly in my mind. It was dark outside. And I lived in this cul-de-sac. And in this cul-de-sac, I was just waiting outside my driveway, and I was just being here. And I was considering the previous 12 months journey. I was thinking about all the books that I read. I was thinking about the people I asked questions and paid. I was thinking about all the different avenues, from the psychological to the physiological to the spiritual to the metaphysical to like all the science, all these things. I was just reflecting upon it. And that's when I had my epiphany. Because in that moment, something happened. Have you ever had an experience when things just become so quiet? It was almost like all the cars had stopped. No sound in sight. There was no movement in the trees. It was almost like time stopped still. And as everything stopped still, my mind became still. There was a silence there. And I realized that mission for searching for everything else beyond me, looking for all the examples, all those things did not make sense. Because there was nothing to find beyond me, only to be found within me. And in that moment, that's what I realized. That connection wasn't sought from the external, but from the internal. And that created an epiphany within me to realize that I was always here, that I was always connected. That was a transpersonal experience. It might not be meaningful to you, but in that moment, it was profound to me. It was almost like lifting the veil, changing the lens, seeing a different perception. And honestly, that was one of the most impactful events in my life. But yes, there was all that stuff from my decision to change to my journey. But it came from the epiphany. It came from one moment, a second. So that the transformation didn't happen over a habitual time, 30 days. It happened in a second. It had to have all the right components to come together. Now, of course, that can happen far quicker than that whole year journey for me. Finding someone to work with the right person or the right process, the right transformation. It can happen in a second, a moment. But that's what I mean by an epiphany. When it's almost like 100% of you transform. And going back to the smoking question, the most successful way of quitting smoking, I believe, which I read this years ago, so it might not be true anymore, was when someone wakes up one day and goes, I'm done. I'm just done. It's almost like consciously and unconsciously you make a decision to let it go. And that's an epiphany. Of course, you sometimes need more leverage and all those things, find out other alternative behaviors or find someone who can help you, but that's exactly what an epiphany can be. Okay, so I'm going to probably take this one more piece. I know actually a very good little suggestion here, or a statement here. Sometimes so much information. Yes, you do not need more information. You really, most of the time, do not need more information. You need to know. Because you can think you know everything, logically have all the insights. Or, sorry, all the information, but you don't have the knowing. You need the knowing from the information. Okay, so one last question was, do you meditate? What are your feelings on that? I love meditation. I don't probably do it as much as I should. But I do meditate there's lots of forms of meditation. When I run, I'm meditating to a degree. That physiological continuous movement is a form of meditation, a moving meditation. But yeah, slowing down your mind. I like the Wim Hof method of breathing. That's a great way of becoming centered and becoming in that meditative state. A lot of the time on meditation as well, it's not about the lack of thinking, it's about being conscious of the thought and letting it go. Like, don't be annoyed that you're thinking, just recognize you're thinking and go, it's okay, I'm going to let it go. finding the peace in the space between thoughts. That's one thing I always thought about. I'm looking for the spaces between the thoughts and being the observer. Because if I can observe the thoughts, it means I'm a more meditator. And I'm not a meditation expert, so there's just my own personal experience. But yes, I love meditation. Meditation is obviously very different from hypnosis. Hypnosis is about bypassing your unconscious mind, creating learnings and suggestions. And I believe, in my opinion, meditation is becoming just more centered, more present, more mindful, which is fantastic as well. Okay, my friends, that is it for this evening. It's getting late for me. I've got to get up early to work in my office because I like to work. But I hope you enjoyed this. If you did enjoy this, please go ahead, and especially if you go to like YouTube, which is youtube.com/Joseph Clough, to be able to catch these episodes, these live ones. You can subscribe, like, and hit the bell there. And of course, if you are wanting to, you got to be very specific here, as in you've got to be a very good candidate. You got to apply. We do have my customized program, and as josephclough.info/go, you book a call, you fill out an application. If you don't fill out the application, you might get cancelled, because we need to prep the person who's going to take the call to be able to figure out if we can actually help you. But it is more about business people, I'm afraid. It's just my system. Entrepreneurs, people want to be able to really get bigger than ever before. But I really appreciate all the thanks here as well. So I appreciate you all in every single way. And of course, there's always going to be free episodes on the podcast. I've really been getting into it. We're going to get well over 100,000 downloads this month. We're at 95 already, and we get about 4,000 or 5,000 a day. So we're going to go over 100. So that means we're obviously reaching the world and helping people. So yeah, just realize I believe in you. If no one else believes in you, just realize I do. I genuinely believe in you, and I really want the best for you. Whatever you desire, whatever it is, you deserve it. So with that, my friends, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Many thanks, and goodbye.
When I first met Joseph, I had heard a lot about hypnosis, and I'd even tried it once or twice. I bought some hypnosis CDs, and I listened to them at night, and never saw like a big, profound impact at all. But I thought it was kind of a cool idea, a cool concept. And when I met Joseph, he was telling me about all the cool things that he does, talked about his app and his courses and everything. And I was like, yeah, it's cool, but I don't think I'm willing to go invest that much time into something that's I mean, in all honesty, it was kind of a generic thing. And I told him that. And he said, well, if you want, he's like, I have a program where I actually can build a custom hypnosis app for you. And I was like, well, how does that work? And he said, well, basically, he's like, he gave me a questionnaire. He said, let me know all of your desires, all the things you want in your life, and then also let me know all the things you don't want in your life anymore. Let me know, all the struggles you have and all the things you want to accomplish. And he kind of gave me this thing to fill out. And he told me, he said, this is like a Christmas list. Like, you're basically going to tell me everything you want your subconscious mind to start doing in your life. And at first, I was kind of excited. I was like, this will be really, really cool. But then, honestly, I also had a lot of fear. In fact, I didn't send him the page, the form back for almost 6 weeks. For 6 weeks, I sat on it, I looked at it, and I was like, do I tell him what I really want in life, or do I kind of go surface level? And I was nervous or embarrassed. I didn't want him to know some of my issues, my problems. And finally, after about 6 months, I was sitting there one night. It was 2 or 3 in the morning, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be vulnerable. I'm just going to give Joseph everything, and I'm just going to let him do his magic. And so I filled out the entire form, made my Christmas list of everything that I could ever dream of and more. And then I sent it to him. And I was nervous, I was excited, and didn't really know what to expect. And a couple days later, Joseph messaged me back. He said, "Kay, I've got your gift. I got this thing for you." And I actually got it here on a little MP3 player with these headphones. And he said, every night when you go to bed, for the next 30 days at least, listen to this. So I put these headphones on, and I fall asleep with them on, and I listen to Joseph. And it's crazy, like, it's so much cooler than I thought it was going to be. At the very beginning, he's talking to me. Like, when you hear him say, Russell, he keeps saying my name, and he's talking to me. And he starts going through the things that I was struggling with. And it's cool as he's talking to my subconscious mind, and I'm seeing these things. Man, it was like the coolest thing, one of the coolest things I've ever experienced in my life. And what's cool is every single night now I go to bed with these on, and for about 30 to 40 minutes, I listen to Joseph. And most of the time I fall asleep, but it doesn't really matter. While I'm sleeping, he's speaking to my subconscious mind, reprogram it. So in the morning when I wake up, those things that I wanted to seem so distant suddenly become close and become attainable, and they become simple, which is like just crazy for me that even works the way it does. And it also came with one that gets me up every single morning. There's one that throughout the day, around lunchtime or so when I start getting down, I'll listen to it, and it about 15 minutes long, and instantly gets me back in state, back ready to take over the world. And honestly, it's one of the coolest things I've ever done for myself. Most things you buy, like you buy them and maybe use them once a month or once a year. This is something I use every single day. Like I can't imagine my life would be like without it. I can't imagine me getting the results I want in life, in business, in my family, in my spirituality without Joseph helping to kind of clear out all the gunk, all the stuff that keeps me from achieving and putting me on a path that makes it more simple. And I love it. In fact, I love it so much. This is kind of my, how excited I am. I'm doing this right now for my wife. She's going through it right now. She's filling out her form, and she's going through the same nervousness, but we're building out her Christmas list. And for my kids this year for Christmas, I'm getting one for every single one of my kids, and I'm having them fill out the form as well. And like, let them, like, what are their desires? Like, what do they want? I don't want my kids to be stuck. All of us get stuck in our own patterns, our own beliefs, like the own stories we tell us. That keep us from getting our dreams and our desires. And our subconscious mind is like this anchor that's holding us back. And if we can release that anchor, it can change everything. I know, like, it's happening for me. I'm seeing the results of this now, and I want that for my wife and my kids. I want my kids so that when they're going to school, like these subconscious things that are holding them back from being who I know that they are, the rock stars that I see them every single day, and I know they go to school and they're nervous and they have these fears and all those things. I want to release all those so when they're in school, they can be 100% who they are. And I'm excited. Like I've been telling everybody I know about this. Most of my friends have got this now. Most of my family, I'm getting it for them as well. And I hopefully you can see the excitement that I have for this. I think it's one of the neatest things in the world. I think it's one of the greatest gifts you can possibly give to yourself or people you love. And if you haven't done it yet, get it. This will literally transform your life. It'll transform your business. It'll transform your marriage. It'll transform your relationship with God. It'll transform whatever it is that's important to you. And that's why it's so powerful. It's custom. It's exactly what you want, your wants, your dreams, your desires. And it's a track you plug in. It reprograms your mind every single night and gets you prepared for the next day. And so it has my full endorsement. I listen to this every day. The only other thing I do every single day is eat. And this is the other thing. So this is on the same level as food for me, and it should be for you as well.
Hey there, my name is Liz Benny, and I want to tell you about this incredible guy called Joseph. Now, I actually sleep with Joseph pretty much every night at the moment, and it's incredible. Like, I'm saying incredible. Did I get your attention? I'm kind of sure I did right now. Now, let me tell you why Joseph is absolutely incredible. Here's the deal. I've received incredible results in life, like really incredible results. I've achieved huge success. But a lot of that success was through anger, like turning my anger into like forcing it and forcing results and taking massive action, working massive hours. And I knew that there was this part that I was missing, right? Absolutely missing. So if you picture an iceberg, I was like forcing the top of the iceberg. And I was like, there's this massive thing called the subconscious mind that I wasn't tapping into, right? And I got to the point where I was like, I'm over-forcing it. I want clearer, more simple, more like smooth results. And that's what Joseph is helping me do. So you can go to iTunes right now and download any hypnosis tracks, right? Like confidence or achieving goals or whatever. But those are generic ones, right? Imagine having a hypnosis track that's for you, the results that you want in your life. See, that's what I've got, and stuff is showing up left, right, and center. So if you're sitting there right now trying to work out if this is for you, if Joseph is your guy, seriously, I promise to you, you want to sleep with this guy every single night. Whether you're a guy or a girl, believe me, this stuff works. So just seriously, get in contact with him right now, because he is going to help you get the stuff into your subconscious mind, and stuff is going to show up faster than you've ever had it before. I promise it. And it's custom for you, right? You get what you want. Sounds good? Do it.
I was at a point where, we did well in business, but we weren't at the level that we are totally capable of being at. All of a sudden, I come across one of Joseph's hypnosis tracks and woke up and I felt better. And I was like, that's really weird. Like, is that really the hypnosis thing really working? And so I did it again and again. And I just started feeling better. I felt more confident. I felt more empowered. I was more creative. You know, if it works on someone like me, like it can work on, you know, anyone. I used to not be able to turn my mind off when I went to bed, or I wouldn't want to go to bed because I feel like I'm missing out on something. And now, like, I can't wait to go to bed because I'm like, ooh, what do I want to hear from Joseph? Is it the custom? Is it this library that he has? Sometimes I alternate. It's like, what breakthrough do I want to have tonight? And it's like a buffet. It's amazing. I can tell you that I'm able to show up for my clients, I feel like, in a much bigger way. I'm able to be way more productive during the day. And the only thing that I've done differently is listen to Joseph's track. Anyone that's just stuck and you don't know why, I would really recommend that you consider working with Joseph. And I have recommended him to all of my clients. And that's the highest, form of flattery, is to say, you know, not only has he done great things for me, like I want my clients to experience Joseph for themselves, because I understand that he has a very special gift that can really help people unlock their potential without having to go through and slog through all of the inner emotions and all that stuff. Whatever he does, you don't need to understand how it works. It just does, and that's why I highly recommend him.
Hey Joseph, what's up, man? I just wanted to come on here and give you a quick testimonial, because I got to tell you what's happened in the last, couple weeks since listening to your custom audio track. I had been dealing with some health issues for an entire year, and I couldn't get to the bottom of what was actually going on, and thus I couldn't come up with a strategy that was going to solve that situation. And it was taking up all this attention. It was really putting a damper on the rest of my life, and it was bleeding into everything. And so I put a lot of that stuff in the questionnaire, and within a week, man, the solution just came to me, and it's like the Red Seas parted, and it was so clear to me what was going on. And as soon as I figured out what was going on, I came up with a plan to start fixing it and reversing it, and all of a sudden I'm feeling better than I've felt in almost a year. And on top of that, I'm like, business is just coming at me like it's just showing up, like I'm a videographer, so hence the nice camera that I'm recording this on. But clients are just showing up. People who I want to work with, are just like asking for my business. Like, I don't have to go out of my way to market or do anything like that. It's just working, and it's just really amazing to see like how much could change so quickly. And I know that, I'm not going to say that like if someone else gets a hypnosis track, you're going to be cured of your disease or your business is going to explode. But I'm going to tell you what it will do. I'll tell you is that it really gets your mind focused on what you want and not what you don't want. And when you start to do that, your entire life is going to start to change. And so anyone who's considering buying a custom hypnosis track from Joseph, you should absolutely do it, because everything comes to mechanics and mindset. It's 20% mechanics or technique or strategy and 80% mindset. And I knew that going into this. I understood that. That's why I decided to commit to getting a custom track, is because I knew I was doing all the right things. There was something going on with my mindset that was just holding me back from getting to where I wanted to be. So if you're not where you want to be, if you're struggling with something, if you're having like mental thought loops or mental patterns, thought patterns that are negative, or they're not supporting your goals, like, this will change everything. Because as soon as you change those thought loops, as soon as you mix up the pattern to what you want, That's it, man. That's it. So I had to come on here and I had to say thank you so much for what you did, Joseph. I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon.